Welcome back to For the Road, and first off, thanks so much for all the support on the last video, and thanks to all those new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Giulia again, but this time at the electrical system. In the last video I wanted to get into it a little bit, but the last video ran to 20 minutes and I didn't want to include it. This car's always had a pretty dodgy electrical system, like, to be honest. It's been kind of hacked together a little bit, and it has, like, you know, things like an electric fan on the radiator and no mechanical fan on the engine, so all that kind of wiring needs to be sorted out. And it always had a whole bunch of extra wires dangling around under the dashboard on the passenger side. I didn't really know what they were, so I've had to track it down into the wheel well. And it looks like this car at some point had a rally computer in it that needed the speed inputs. Actually becoming a bit of a hassle, so I'm going to cut that out. This car had, and I'm not kidding, the electric fan was these two wires, and they had a really dodgy switch in the dashboard, and then eventually that came apart because it was just twisted and taped. So in the end, to get the fan to run, you'd have to literally just touch these together and then it would run. But this red wire, the live wire, was literally coming just straight off the battery with no fuse or anything. So that was just live under the dashboard. Crazy, really dangerous. So I'm going to cut all that out, cut this out of the wheel well, put the wheel back, and then we can sort out a proper solution for that electric fan. So this is the wire to power the electric fan, and then this is, it's been spliced together so it would fit all the way under the dash, and then this is the wire that feeds it. And obviously just having live wires under the dash is not a smart idea. So what I'm going to do is put a spade connector on the end of this wire. It's actually already in two pieces. Over here. The twist and tape, my favorite. So I'm going to put a spade connector on the end of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach to a spare terminal on the fuse block that's powered by the ignition. I always end up forgetting to turn it on when I'm driving around town in slow moving traffic, and the car gets quite hot when I do that. So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone on this one and wire it directly into the ignition system. This big wire is the wire that comes directly from the battery, and then it goes into this little fuse here, and this is kind of this distributes the power around the rest of the system, and it will go from here to the column switch and all bunches of places. So these two are for your headlights, these are for all the dip beams, these are for your high beams, this is park lights, this is for anything that's on whether the car is turned on or not, or whether the lights are on or not. So that's windshield wipers, interior heater, that kind of thing. And this is for things that are only on when the ignition is turned on. So that's your coil and your gauges and all sorts of things. And that's where I want the fan to be. So what I'm going to do is pull. Obviously these two are connected. You can see the little bridge over there. So I'm going to pull this top wire off and move it. There's a spare tab under there, so there we go. So that's reconnected, and you can see that top tab. Now what I'm going to do is put a spade connector on this wire, and that should mean that the electric fan turns on every time I turn the key. So now I just want to check that this works the way that I think it should. So I'm going to reconnect the battery, flip the ignition key. Hey. Cool, so I should have no more accidental overheatings because I've forgotten to turn on my my fan. So for a while I've wanted to fit spotlights to this car. It might spoil the the very cool sort of minimalist look that this car has. But cars go through like stages, and I think a cool like rally, sort of real tough look for this car is going to be what it needs for a little bit. I've been really trying to work out exactly how I want to do it, and these are the lights I'm going to use. These are CB, sort of classic CB Oscars, which would be like, you know, the kind of standard stuff to get if you were building a rally car in the 60s. I think I'm going to get them about here. It's a bit awkward to do with one hand holding a camera. Somewhere around here, I think. Yeah, I made up these brackets that would bolt to the body. Yeah, I'm going to have to drill holes in the body of the car, but at least not in the bumper. And what I'm going to do is pretty simple. The rest of the lights in this car are already relayed. You can see the under here, it's pretty dodgy, but that's the relay for the brights, and this is the relay for the main headlights. I want these spotlights to light up when the brights are turned on, because you don't want two different switches for doing your headlights and your spotlights. You'll never be able to turn them off if a car's going the other direction or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run another relay. I'm just going to stick it on here as well. And I'm going to run the power switch to that relay from, I think there is a spare connector pin on somewhere on the brights set circuit. Yeah, there are two pins here. So that's where I'll run the power to the relay from. So what a relay does, it's really, really simple. What you're doing is bypassing the switch for whatever it is you're trying to power. So what I've got here is, you can see a line, this red line would go direct to the battery, and the blue line would go to the spotlights. And to turn the relay on, all you need is a line coming from whatever switch it is. So this green wire here is going to go from that extra pin on the fuse box, and then this ground wire, of course, just grounds the relay, so it will turn on. So basically all you're doing is making and breaking a direct connection here between the battery and your output without running all the power through your switch, which on an Alpha 105 is a really good idea because the column switches can burn out really easily. That's fairly simple, so I'm just going to cable tie this into the car and we can keep going. Now the relay ground just has to be grounded out somewhere on the car, so that's pretty easy to work out. I'm just going to stick it here. And the switch wire for the relay, like I said, I'm going to put it on the spare point on the high beams or the bright circuit. This is a bit awkward. It's not like this whole fuse box wasn't a huge mess to start with anyway, so I don't feel too bad about it. There we go. And the old high beam. There we go. And the final one, which is the feed directly from the battery, I'm going to stick on this terminal here along with the one for the headlights. I think the next thing I'm going to have to do is get this bumper off if I'm going to mount up the spotlights, because I have to drill holes for these brackets. Yeah, let's get going. This really is the moment I've been dreading. Drilling holes into a perfectly good front of a car. But it has to be done. I think I've got the spacing done in a pretty good way. We'll only really know once the lights are on. I've put up some photos on my Instagram of different options, but I think this is the best. There we go. So I had to actually move the radiator back in order to get the fan out so I could get the bolts in. It's This is turning into a bit of a fiddle. I didn't think it would. It was my fault for assuming anything would be easy with this car. No going back now. It's only forever. Right, so I've got the spotlights on, and I think they look pretty good. Yeah, I think towards the inside of the car was a better choice than putting them towards the outside. I think it keeps the kind of cute look of the TI. Spotlight's done, and all that under dash wiring is kind of sorted out, and of course the fan works. So I've got somewhere to be, so I'm going to continue with the TI electrics this evening, probably. I've had the spotlights on the Giulia for a few days now, and it's gone pretty well. However, they're quite wobbly. When you're driving along, you can see the light bouncing up and down, and that's a bit annoying. So I worked out a solution. Well, the reason they wobble is pretty simple. The front of the car, the whole front valance is pretty soft, so that bracket can move a little bit. And so what it really needs is a brace holding it up to the top here. And that's where it gets a little bit complicated, because this whole section is all boxed in. You can't get around to it from the other side, so you can't really bolt anything to it. So that's why I've come up with this solution. This should be a pretty elegant and simple way to brace these spotlights. What I'm going to do is drill a hole in the top of the spot here, and drill a hole in here, and have this riv nut mount inside there, and that should hold it nice and firm. It'll stop it wobbling. Here is a look at the basic parts of it. Riv nut, bit of 6mm bar, some nuts, and a throttle linkage end. Pretty simple. So these throttle ends that I'm using, I just got from a local auto parts store, and they're pretty good. 6mm, nice and beefy, with the little metal clip that stops them from coming apart. So you have to actually take this metal clip here off of it in order to get it to release. So that's not going to pop off while you're driving along, so that's very good. Yeah, so I'm going to have to put some holes in here and here. I've measured that out and given it a tap with the center punch. And I'm going to have to put some holes in the top of the spotlights as well for this. And then I'm going to use this tool. This is a riv nut gun. This is a good way to mount a captive nut in a surface that you can't get to the other side of. But first things first, let's drill some holes, and take the spots apart so we can get the hole in the top. Got all the holes drilled and all the fittings done. I've got like the little ball joint throttle end thingies in the top of the spotlights. That actually, it goes through 2 layers of metal there, so that should be nice and strong. Yeah, so I've got these threaded inserts in, and that should be nice and strong. This one's already got a thread in it, so time to put all the spotlights and everything back on and see if they're nice and stable. Right, so that's all bolted up. First off, I think that looks great. That looks really cool. And also, it is, I mean, these are now solid. These aren't going anywhere. They wobble side to side a little bit, but I'm not going to have any more of the bouncing headlights. So that's cool. Yeah, that's a really nice solution, I think. Pretty easy to do. You just need a riv nut gun. And the nice thing is you're not fiddling with anything above this level here. So if you try shut the hood, yeah, like that doesn't get in the way of anything. Yeah, I think that's a really good solution. I'm super happy with that. There's two more things I really want to do before I'm done with the whole electrical overhaul, and that is the reverse lights don't work and the number plate lights are intermittent. So number plate lights, I think they're just loose under the bumper. So I'm going to take this bumper off and then we'll see what's going on. The reason the number plate lights don't work is that like this one's come off completely and this is loose, so these are not going to ground. Right, now the reason that the reversing light doesn't work is because the wires coming from the switch here are severed. This one's missing a terminal, and this is where they're meant to plug into. This is just kind of hanging down. This has been burned by the exhaust. So my plan is to cut it here, add some spade connectors on it, and then attach them together up here, higher up, where there's no risk of it touching the exhaust. Right, I've got those wires spliced up, and it's not very tidy, but it'll do. Now I'm just gonna get this car off the lift and see if that, see if those reversing lights work. Right, so the lighting situation on the Giulia is pretty much sorted. Everything's working the way it should. It doesn't have interior lights yet, but I'll get around to that another day. But for now, I'm pretty happy with my car. It looks great. Spotlights don't wobble. Reverse lights work. The fan isn't connected by two loose wires under the dash. So this is all good. Right, now I'm going to go out and drive this thing.